Buenos dias, y'all. RGT85 here. Hope everyone is having a great day. But of course, we've got some video game news to talk about. A couple stories going on that I definitely want to cover. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, like, and share the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. And last night at CES 2022, the Consumer Electronics Show, we actually got a pretty big announcement from a video game company, which is usually something you don't see. The main companies usually shy away from CES, but Sony with the PlayStation brand was right out there, front and center, with a big announcement of PSVR 2, the sequel to the PlayStation VR headset that we got on the PlayStation 4. Now, they gave some details about this, and I kind of want to go over some of the information with you guys, tell you guys why I'm interested in it and why I'm kind of not. Now, as far as the system is concerned, it's obviously going to be a big upgrade over the original PlayStation VR. As far as visual fidelity is concerned, a high fidelity visual experience. PSVR 2 offers 4K HDR, 110-degree field of view, and foveated rendering. I don't know what that means. With an OLED display, players can expect a display resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye and smooth frame rates of 90/120 hertz per second. Now, on paper, all that sounds very impressive. This definitely sounds like an advancement of the PlayStation VR headset. Now, I never owned the PlayStation VR headset because I'm not that big into VR. You know, VR was supposed to be something that was going to come along and change the entire video game industry. It was supposed to be the new standard, the new way to play, much like 3D televisions were going to be. And of course, it definitely became more of a niche product. They sold like 3 or 4 million PSVR headsets on a large install base on the PlayStation 4, so obviously it never really fully caught on. And I'm actually surprised that Sony is even dipping their toe back into the VR headset thing. You have a lot of competition out there with things like the HTC Vive, the Oculus 2, so there's a lot of different components going into this. But of course, the main thing when you have a Sony VR headset is you're going to have experiences that you can only get on that, and you can't get it on other platforms because they are first-party experiences. And yes, Sony actually showed off a first-party experience within the Horizon series. Now, this game is called Horizon Call of the Mountain, and when you look at this game, upon first inspection, it looks awesome. Obviously, Horizon is a very big franchise right now. We have Horizon Forbidden West coming out very soon, so this seems like a good way to sort of showcase the visual fidelity, because realistically speaking, the graphics in this game look absolutely awesome. But as I'm watching this very brief, 25-second trailer, I noticed something, and that is that this is an on-rails experience. And I don't know. I like on-rails games, don't get me wrong, but I feel like this isn't necessarily the best way to show off this advanced hardware, because I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to VR, have a problem with the fact that a lot of things are on-rails experiences, and it's not really indicative of a real game where you can just sort of move around and do whatever you want. Now, that could be because of things like motion sickness, but it does feel kind of like a bit of a missed opportunity in order to showcase something that's actually, just a free-flowing VR experience. Now, Sony also announced lots of different things like eye tracking, new sensory features, headset-based control tracking, the new controllers for it. It was a lot of information, but two things that they did not talk about were the price point of this and the release date of this. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see how that all pans out, because this isn't going to be cheap. Like, I think this might be as much as a PlayStation 5 is, at either $400 or $500, because of all of the technology going in here. Of course, Sony isn't just going to throw this out into the marketplace and hope for the best, because Sony tends to abandon things if it doesn't go well, much like Google. So they're obviously going to have a lot of strong games available for it on day one, but we don't know of a release date for it yet. Obviously, the PlayStation 5 has a lot of issues just getting your hands on one. It's been one of the hottest selling systems. Scalpers have been buying it up. So I don't really foresee this making a huge splash when it first comes out, just because of the availability factor of the PlayStation 5 itself. Yes, it's selling a lot of systems, but how many of those systems are just like in someone's closet, trying to scalp them? Or I even saw some report where someone was taking pictures of a PlayStation 5 at an airport. Like, an airport in some country was selling PlayStation 5 systems, and they had a bunch of them. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sony times this release, how they price this release, and what is available on it. As of right now, still not super interested in it. If I wanted to get into the whole VR sphere, you know, I would just get an Oculus Quest 2 or something like that. Those are a little bit cheaper than this is probably going to be. You don't need anything else. You just use the headset. Whereas with this, you still need a PlayStation 5. So we're talking probably $8, $9, potentially even $1,000 just to get this experience. But I do think it is cool. I am surprised that Sony is already talking about it and they're already showcasing this, because I feel like this could be an interesting piece for the PlayStation 5. Now, the support of it, how long they keep it going and things of that nature, that really remains to be seen. What sort of big titles could they get? That Half-Life game that came out on PC headsets, could they get that on the PlayStation 5? I don't know. Still, to me, VR is just a niche. It's always going to be a niche, but there obviously are a lot of people that enjoy this niche. So let me know what you think of the PSVR 2 headset in the comment section down below. Are you surprised that Sony is even talking about this already, just a year after the launch of the PlayStation 5 and the lack of ability of the system? You know, does it kind of make sense for them to talk about new hardware for their PlayStation? Or do you think that this is going to be a complete flop and no one's going to adapt it because maybe they just don't like VR? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, we're going to talk about an eShop title that actually breaks the rules about what you can do on the eShop. But I think the most bizarre thing is Nintendo actually promoted this title in the indie showcase that they recently just have, meaning that either they're idiots or they're changing the rules, and I think it's the further rather than the latter with this. So the game in question is a game called Dungeon Munchies. Now, they did a big trailer for this game. They showcased this game, like I said, during the last indie showcase presentation, which, I mean, I wasn't a fan of it. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. There wasn't really anything for me, and this game did not really catch my attention. Now, Dungeon Munchies actually had a release date, a stealth drop release during this Indie World presentation where the game came out on the same day. Now, this game has been sort of reviewed a bit harshly. You know, there's not been many review scores out there that are really favorable of it. Kind of a bit of a mixed bag, but it seems like this game is actually breaking Nintendo Switch eShop rules that Nintendo themselves are the one that established. Now, on the Nintendo Switch eShop, you cannot buy a game that is currently classified as in early access, meaning that this game will eventually come out and it'll eventually be a full build of the game. However, you cannot purchase a game in that sort of state. The game that releases on the Switch eShop has to be a completed version of a game, not an alpha, not a beta or something like that. And then if a company wants to add additional stuff to the game, well, they can do that. Well, looking at the Dungeon Munchies Steam page, it seems like they didn't get that memo, or maybe Nintendo didn't realize this either. So here's Dungeon Munchies over on Steam. You can purchase this whenever you want. Obviously, this is the same game. And hey, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Early access game. This is not allowed on the Nintendo Switch eShop. Now, they go on to say that obviously an early access game, you know, what it means and all that stuff. The current version of Dungeon Munchies is complete, but each additional dish, creature, map, and feature needs more time and more eyes to review and test. We're only a team of 3, so there's a limit to what we can do. We also want feedback in order to create more interesting content and features for the game. Now, if it's an early access, like, I don't think that's allowed on the Nintendo Switch eShop, because we've already established that. And the only reason that this is kind of getting more and more notoriety right now is because of the fact that someone over on Reset Era was playing this game and they were like, well, there was 2 chapters and there's clearly supposed to be a 3rd chapter that happens due to the storyline of the game, but the game just abruptly ends, and then it's kind of like, oh, you know, come back for more stuff. So he thought that was very interesting. He made a post on it over on Reset Era, and some people are starting to talk about that. Now, we've already established that the team behind Dungeon Munchies is just 3 people, so I'm not here to like criticize them for releasing an early access game on the Nintendo Switch. You know, it is what it is. A lot of indie developers do that. There is a lot of games on Steam where it is allowed, but the problem is this supposedly isn't allowed on the Nintendo Switch eShop. And the fact that Nintendo themselves promoted this game, honestly, is kind of shoddy, because when you look at the eShop listing for this game, there is no indication that it is an early access game, whereas on Steam, it clearly says it. So you know what you're getting with it on Steam, but not on the Nintendo Switch eShop. And I think it honestly sort of causes an interesting discussion that could happen with this, because how do you classify an early access game? Obviously, there's lots of games that get added content with things like multiplayer and new maps, sometimes for free, sometimes for DLC. But it's like the company themselves, the developer themselves, have to be the ones that say, hey, this is an early access game. Not everything is done in this game. Not all of the features are added into this game in order for the game to go up on Steam. But on the Nintendo Switch, it's kind of like a bit of a gray area. So I think this is going to be really unique for the Nintendo Switch to see how this plays out, because like I said, Nintendo themselves promoted this game. This game was front and center on that eShop Indie World presentation, and they were like, yeah, go check out this game, it comes out today on the Switch, waka waka waka. And it's like, but it's an early access game. It's a game that you supposedly don't allow on the Nintendo Switch, and now you're sort of opening the floodgates for more developers to come along and release early access stuff on the Switch, which I think a lot of people don't like that. You know, PC gaming and console gaming are two very different things. When you have an early access game over on the Xbox system, because there have been, those games are always available on Game Pass, or you can check them out for free, and then when the final version of the game comes out, if you want to buy it, you can buy it. But obviously with the Switch, it's completely different, because I mean, the Switch Online just kind of sucks compared to Xbox. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. And like I said, I'm not trying to pick on this company. They obviously just released their game that's clearly in early access on Steam on the Nintendo Switch, and they probably didn't realize that they were doing anything incorrect. But the fact that Nintendo is allowing this really sort of opens the floodgates for more companies to potentially do this. And the fact that Nintendo promoted this is just kind of sketchy, because I don't really want to see early access games available for purchase on the Switch eShop. We have enough problems with the quality of some of these titles. I'm looking at you, Popeye and AAA Clock. And now we got to worry about early access games. No, thank you. No, thank you. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. PSVR 2, are you excited for it? Or do you not care? And this whole thing with Dungeon Munchies, do you think Dungeon Munchies is in the right? Should Nintendo allow early access games to be available on the eShop? Was this an oversight by them? What the hell is going on? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share the video. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.